Hey guys, welcome to another session of Epic 7. This is my account showcase for the end of Skyward season. Just about to wrap up, as you can see on the screen there, about a day left. This will encompass all my builds that I used for World Arena this season, including Guild War, which just ended, and Arena as well, which ended a couple weeks ago now. And so let's get into it. I'm not gonna showcase like every single hero built in terms of like, you know, for PvE or whatever, but maybe some highlightable ones, but mainly what I would consider as like fully built heroes. We'll go through that. As you know, the game keeps expanding on heroes and you have more gear, eventually you're gonna have too many heroes to talk about. So to keep this short, first things first, I have it filtered with CP, or sorted by CP. It'll be a bit easier to talk about, I guess. RB finally got triple S after a long time. I know that at the beginning a lot of whales got RB to triple S, even with the imprint concentration. But with the recent green Vildred one, finally got a triple S, and here are my stats for this. So this is my RB. I was pretty happy with this one in terms of getting. He was like my side project with the substat gems in place. I think I spent like about 2 months worth of selection, including, you know, just getting lucky over time, getting the greater gems, and then keep re-rolling. So a lot of the stuff you're gonna see here is like min-maxed to the maximum degree, which of course, you know, at this point, like 88 swords, I said before, like you're gonna have like diminishing returns, but there's no arguing with the stats there. It's pretty hard to replicate if I get a 90 gear. Again, you guys know how gear rolls are. This one as well, like min-max until it's 8% crit rate, or crit damage rather. And so this one's the max capacity you can go to. This one I rolled it really early on just for the health. I'll get a bit more CP in there, but honestly it doesn't really matter, I suppose. I probably won't re-roll this unless I somehow move this into a bruiser eventually. That's if RB gets that's an upgraded chest, but that's the one I'm running there. This one as a 90 is kind of salty, but is perfect subs. It is my, I would say, the best crit rate with speed combo on speed set crit damage necklace I have. So there's a bit more attack I can squeeze out there. Let me see if I have a greater gem to showcase. No, I don't. I think it's like, if I remember correctly, it's just like borderline hits like 100 flat attack. So like you only get 2 more. So that's only if I wanted to min-max that, but not really worth it. This one, I gotta say, like the defense is kind of nice, the flat on the thief, but it's not ideal. Obviously, you know, if it was like, let's say flat attack or anything else, this would have had could have had higher rolls into the crit damage, into the speed, into all that stuff. So the crit damage got a little bit of a low roll there after the 90. So there's still like a bit of space I can improve on this RB. Not everything is like at max capacity yet, especially the necklace. I think once I get an upgraded necklace, maybe upgraded sword, this RB could look even a bit better, either more speed or more attack or even more crit damage. This one is 36 crit damage, really nice on it, and then the I think it was like a HP or defense or something like that. Rolled it for a 9% attack, so that's again the maximum maximum capability I can get on this RB. Talking about like stat value, the boot is actually undervalued. It's very low. Yes, the high crit damage is really good to scale that, but you know, it was my goal to get to 300 crit damage, 4.2k attack, and 250 speed. And you saw the flaws there. It could be a bit better. Kise, I definitely have to say that, you know, she's really good right now. She's good in RTA. She's good in Guild War. I think on defense she's very popular. This one's kind of like just put together. As you can see, I'm still on 78, so I'm not gonna really showcase this one, but it has like decent speed gear with some, you know, DPS stats in there, so I'll just kind of showcase the pieces. Outside of that, this ring, she needs more love for sure before I really use her. She's on a portrait because I usually run her on an offensive team, which I'll have an attack buff, at least for the S2 if she's going to stealth. So that's why I would go with the portrait. Otherwise, Alexa's basket, but I don't have that many. Top Model Luluca, I used her this season finally. She's not even max mole on the S1, so you can tell how little I use her. I need the S2 actually. But she is triple S. I got very lucky over time getting blue Lulucas. back in the day, I got a Blue Luluca down here. I think she's not imprinted. Yeah. So like before, I never even used Blue Luluca. So I had all these like spares, and I got one top model Luluca on her banner. If you guys watch my YouTube videos, you would know how I got her. And yeah, so eventually, like, you know, I had this kind of like this crit rate neck, and I'm like, okay, let's put her on immunity, because I just had like some immunity with speed and some DPS stats, and I couldn't really think of one that would really benefit from it. Although I have to say that top model Luluca right now is looking way better with higher speed. So like try to run like 300 crit damage, 3.5k attack, or flip those two. I think where you have it in terms of the damage stat is fine, but having faster speed top model Luluca is better. It's just really to contest against people who run like maybe a 250 speed knight. So in terms of a 249 speed top model Luluca on immunity, not very useful, especially in this season. But like I said, it's just because you know, I had the gear and I didn't know who else to put it on, honestly. Like, who else would be at this range with that kind of stats? Perhaps Iced Kise on immunity. I'll consider that maybe in the future, and then run her on crit set and make her faster. But because she has team-wide CR boost, that's why it's important. So anyways, I showcased all the gear, right? Yeah, I think so. This one actually rolled okay. Not the best, but when I was rolling it, I kind of liked it. Crit rate necks are very good, especially if you're going for heroes that require really fast speed. Or bruiser. So bruiser heroes generally have a need for a lot of stats. Like, they need speed, they need attack, they need HP, they need defense, they need crit rate, crit damage. That's too many stats. So crit rate necks are usually giving the best value there. I'll probably make a video in the future talking about the why crit rate neck. Crit damage necks are better for heroes who have high innate crit rate to begin with. But like I said, even if they had high crit rate, if you run a crit rate neck, and assuming you roll all high rolls on crit damage and speed, that's only 2 rolls you'll need. And then the crit rate neck will make up for it. Anyways, like I said, I'll probably make a video on that if you don't understand what I mean. But if you're a, you know, more end game player, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Crit rate necks often give you better value in those 2 types of heroes. Helga, I don't really need to show it. This is my Blue Expo hero, but I made a video on that, so definitely check that out. Celine, I kind of moved gear like around. She used to be about 300 crit damage, but this will work in terms of like a pocket pick. So I'll quickly show the gear again. Some run her faster, some run her bulkier. I personally just basically know like what your Celine is doing, or what she's there for, and then I think it should be fine, like very low risk. This one I could max it, but again, I don't use Celine a lot. Again, like, it's a very pocket pick scenario, and yeah, eventually I'll probably max that RD, which will probably be the best. I ended up getting a max limit broken from the powder shop when she returned, because I was thinking I would use her a lot in RTA this season, but I ended up not really. Luluca used for multiple PvE content, we'll just skip that. Vivian, I downgraded her for PvE, Banshee one-shot specifically, so we're not going to look at that either. Specter Tenebria, not on lifesteal this season, although that was one of my goals. I ended up putting a lifesteal onto my Landy, which I'm pretty happy to show. But she works in the areas I use her. Either they have in World Arena scenarios, either they have drafted themselves in a corner where they didn't have enough AoE, either they were like compensating to like I picked General Purrgis or something like that, and they're going too much single target, but somehow they didn't take Specter Tenebria, or maybe they didn't have Specter Tenebria. Specter Tenebria was a really good choice, and she served really well here in this season. At the build I'm at a S. I just quickly show the stats on these. The speed gear rolled on her ended up being pretty good, and I did chase the HP, although very diminishing return. So I definitely say that, like, emphasize the defense a bit more, but it's just like the very fact that she gets a buff in her passive once a unit dies into the defense. Her defense skill is up quite high, so like having high HP is really good too, because you got the heroes that either penetrate defense, like Lacerated Crow or something like that, or like Landy. So like having a bit of HP to compensate for that lower defense is actually okay. But again, it does depend on like how you use your Specteni, and then like, you know, where you know, what kind of fights you bring her into, I suppose. But of course, like I said, like each build would depend on how you play and where you feel the weakness lies. But in my opinion, I would want to go for a lifesteal Specteni. And originally I had built one close to the stats that I have there, except like I think it's 250 crit damage and the attack was a bit too low at like 3.2k, and a 180 speed, not 188. And it looked okay. If I had a triple S Specteni, honestly, I would probably look into that a bit more. My Tempest Surin worked when I needed her. I definitely used her more in, again, pocket pick scenarios, more than my blue Kise. So I had Alexa's basket on her. She is on like 5 purple gear, which in my standard, I actually dislike. But she is like on leftover gear. It's like on whatever I had just to build her. And Tempest Surin technically can work. Like if you build her really well, she'll work in more scenarios without risk. But if you build her like mine, which is kind of like low stats everywhere, or unoptimized stats, it's not bad either. Because she has like innate survival. It's kind of like when Kayron was meta. You could have him on like really good gear and you will see the difference. But if you had him on like subpar gear, he still worked. It's kind of like RB2, especially versing like lower rank. Kayron is still technically built for PvP. You get more crit rate here, but again, he hasn't been upgraded since I think season 2. I don't think I even used him in season 3 of World Arena. And I believe we're in season 4, that's why I'm using the numbers there. But he is triple S, and this is an old school build. I just haven't really changed him. He like with all red gear, he could get more he could get more attack. And I think that's what's missing here on this Kayron. And of course, 100% crit rate is important. Operator Sigret I use for Guild War. As I'm making this video right now, we're only like a couple days from the Operator Sigret ML Ken balance patch. While I think that she's very, very good, if you build her as a speed opener DPS, if you build her as a nuker like I have here, both sides are really good. With the new buffs, I definitely have to see her speed scaling. Like, her speed scaling is added to all her damage. So, like, how much of a loss does she get for her base damage? So, like, if you run a 151 speed Operator Sigret like mine with, like, you know, purely just to nuke out for Guild War offense, like how much damage am I losing there because of the speed scaling? Like, so I might have to go to a speed boot, like give her like a 200 speed, like lower the attack to like 4k. But the reason why I went like with high damage this season is honestly because of the predominant FCC Landy sort of defenses. Those are easy kills with like Oxlots, Operator Sigret, like it's like FCC Carrot Landy, FCC Ravi Landy. The T-Surin one, I use a different way to beat it, but the kind of like the bruiser ones, the Operator Sigret is like must have. The reason why I went with the attack boot for 4.4k instead of like a 4k 300 crit damage is because there's one time I didn't get the what do you call it, the buff reduction on the S3. And I didn't do enough damage to a Landy that was in Guiding Light, so I ended up losing. So going with the attack, like this much attack with this much damage with Portrait, that Landy gets knocked out of the Guiding Light even if you fail to reduce the buff duration. So I usually go for the kill like Ravi or Carrot kill, and then S3 knocks out the Landy, and I got my C-Dom already, you know, primed, and then it's a one-shot kill. Those Guild War off defenses are easy with Operator Sigret in my opinion. Kise upgraded her also because of Guild War, so this is not really RTA, but on Symbol of Unity, really good to cleave through like Maid Chloe defenses in Guild War. I can actually min-max this one for 3 more crit damage, exactly at 8, so that would give her 350 crit damage, which is pretty good. And she's at a SS right now. I fed blue Kises into her, actually. Sort of regret it, but then sort of not regret it, because Kise just like with Symbol of Unity now, it just makes her still really good. Again in Guild War, very solid. If you have a Portrait on, you might fail to kill some LQCs. if they're on defense, because the portrait, oh, her S3 is already weaker than her S2 technically, and yeah, and the portrait, like if you do the S2, LKC might be below 50% HP, so your portrait doesn't benefit, but symbol with 16% more damage on both S2 S3, it's enough to kill pretty much anything. So I actually like the stats on this one. It's going to be pretty hard to get upgrades here. I don't think I can really, in terms of like, if I want 100% crit rate, if I want immunity, I probably can't get any more, not much more. But like the 3 crit damage, maybe one day. She's kind of low priority. Like 347 crit damage is enough to kill most of anything. I don't know if the 3% is needed, except for flex. Remnant Violet I use in Guild Wars sometimes. I use it in RTA as pocket pick as well. I still think he's very strong, but that's why I think Remnant Violets, if you're not using the speed, like pure DPS Remnant Violet, so like the 4k attack, 250 speed, 300 crit damage Remnant Violet, like how you would build an RB. If you're not using that kind of build, the lifesteal ones I think are still pretty good. And you know, you don't want to risk just evading, so you need some bulk. So I'm pretty happy with this one in terms of like, you know, I'll be able to use like the S1 until I need to heal, and then I'll use the S3 to heal. So I try not to use the S3 on the first turn. This lifesteal weapon is actually very, very hard for me to replicate in terms of a 90 gear. It's pretty high rolled, especially for the time. And this was perfect for like my Remnant Violet. So this, you know, unless I get an upgrade in the future, I don't think I can actually get any more stats out of there. This one you can roll for another 2% attack, which on Leo Thieves is decent enough to chase it if I get it, and I don't think I have enough lifesteal heroes that really need higher attack. Higher attack on Remnant Violet would be good, of course, because the attack buff gets a little buff and you get more damage for your lifesteal. So definitely something I'll probably min-max. The Elphelt and defense roll really well, and as you can see, a pretty high crit damage roll there. So it's pretty nice. This one, of course, perfect stats for him or what he's needed, or lifesteal. This one you can roll up 1 more speed. The 123 defense, I believe it ended up being about like 20% defense equivalents. Somewhere like 20-25%. I did a calculation before on one of my tips and change videos when I talked about how to spot good gear. Yeah, so 4 speed total there. The attack was kind of low, but the crit really was nice there. This one, it ended up being like about a 50% total defense combination between the flat defense and the 28% there. Health, you could roll another 3%, and a Leo Thief isn't super low on HP, but does score lower than a Scorpio Thief in terms of the HP. I think it's like a 5.5-ish HP main base. But the 3% will help, like any bit helps if I wanted to min-max him. But I haven't used Remnant Violet a lot. So unfortunately this one I had to chase the crit rate. I think it was effect resistance. Otherwise ideally it would be crit rate, crit damage, and attack, and then you roll the last one, the flat attack there, for something like defense percent or HP percent. Much more flexibility. Otherwise this boot could be on my Tempest Surin in the future if I get a upgrade for Remnant Violet. Sid was built for PvE, and I showcased that before. Sigret PvE, Canna PvE, Landy. So this is my new Landy. So near the end of this season of World Arena, I decided to go for the lifesteal Landy. This is a good topic to talk about in terms of like bruisers right now in the game, because of I-90 gear and how much stats you can get back compared to like giving them a 4-piece speed set. It's something to consider on a lot of bruisers now. Running them on counter or lifesteal is very, very beneficial. I know that there are a lot of top players who have converted their Landys to lifesteal, converted their Landys to counter. I don't think that one is better than the other. I definitely think that in my playing style, the counter one is less of a less of something that I would want on a Landy. So I mean, conceptually speaking, Landy, while getting the counter gives her CR boost, unless you're on Bloodstone, you're not gonna have more sustain, but so you're more aggro. But because she gets AoE quite often and she can defense pen, that's a lot of damage. So lifesteal is guaranteed, and you're already gonna make a Landy damage dealer anyway. So like, why not put her on a lifesteal set? So I still run into people in RTA with counter Landys, Guild War defense with counter Landys, and I think it's fine. I think it's fine, and I think it's the right way. I definitely think that Landy, if you're building her as like kind of like a bruiser DPS, having on a Banshee set is definitely more beneficial than a speed set. I think I showcased my Landy from last season in another video, I'm pretty sure. But if not, it's probably somewhere floating around that I had a bruiser Landy on a speed set. And honestly, I don't think I lost too many stats. Maybe like 15 speed, some attack. So yeah, just something to consider. Like if you're kind of like a new player and you're thinking about it, a speed set's always easiest because speed set is what we always recommend. For PvE content, you probably want speed set heroes to be able to, you know, beat your Abyss, beat your Hunts and stuff like that. And then eventually for PvP, really consider now with I-90 gear, with the stats that you can actually get, definitely consider going with lifesteal and counter sets. I definitely think it merits more value. In terms of like what this looks like, on a lifesteal Landy, if I get a def pen, even without attack buff, I can sometimes get about like 4k health back, which is quite a bit if you think about it, right? So like if you consider that, that's like my Landy's at 15,000 HP, but really realistically, once you get an S3 off, she's at 20,000 HP, right? So like that's pretty game changing to me, and she stacks attack. And if you have an attack buff for like Maid Chloe, General Purrgis, one of the two usually would be coupled with your Landy pick, unless one of them is pre-banned, one of the attack buffers. She's more likely than not going to get an attack buffer, so it's like it's gonna be very, very high value. Anyways, enough rambling, but that is something to definitely consider. Here are the stats for this. You could get more defense on this. I think I could get about 10% more defense total squeezed. So 9% defense if I stat roll that, which I will, because this is a decent helmet for a bruiser. This one I can get 4% more defense on the reroll. It was effect resistance, and it's just like easy, you know, just swap it to something. I was gonna swap it to crit rate depending on the type of hero that would use this, but I think that 14% defense would be pretty good, because lifesteal generally, either you want high damage heroes having lifesteal, or you want heroes with self-sustain, so like, you know, Tempest Surin, or you want bulk, so in that sense of self-sustain. So 14% defense I don't think would be a waste there, so I will roll that once I get it. You get 4 speed on this piece, and like I said again, crit rate next. Like keep that in mind if you are a new player and you're, you know, and the hero you have does not have very high innate crit rate, or you're looking for a lot of stats in other areas. Definitely go with a crit rate neck. You will get an extra roll there, which means that if your substat rolls on the crit rate neck itself are rolling high, you will have a better hero in terms of like just overall stats. You're just gonna have more stats than if you run a crit damage neck. All right, this one was a really, really good roll for me. I was gonna prepare this for a Spec Tenny, and that's what I was talking about. The 3.2k attack Spec Tenny is a bit too low for lifesteal. I could probably look for an attack ring on Spec Tenny with high bulk stats instead. But Landy, because she's a Leo ranger, has like 6k health, so very, very high. So the health ring here really helps. In terms of EHP on a lifesteal bruiser hero, technically I want to chase more defense, but I'm pretty confident that if I get the 3% here, 4% here, and then another 3% here, oh, it's a 4%. 4% here. Another 4% here. I will be able to get a very comfortable 1200 defense, which I think would pretty much finish off this Landy for me. Yes, I know 99% crit rate, but you know, she AoE so much, I'm just gonna ignore that. Maybe in the future, if I can get one more crit rate from somewhere, I'll probably think about it. But currently, like, I don't want to diminish my speed anymore. I need that one speed roll. 185 in my opinion is a bit too low. But for what the stats I'm getting, I'll live with it, because you got Guiding Light, so you got a bit of damage mitigation, and you'll pair her with damage mitigation. She is definitely one of those limited heroes now you really want triple S, because having the 18% attack will give you flexibility in order to make your build work. So I think, I haven't done the real calculation, but you guys are math whizzes. If you're watching this, you'll probably be able to calculate how much attack I'm missing here. So in terms of, I get 12% more attack if I triple S. So 12% on her, I think I will be able to get to 3.2 4k attack, which would be really, really nice. Again, that will help the scaling on the passive, and with an attack buff, that will help. But every bit of stats help, and that's why imprints right now are pretty darn good. Warhorn Shuri for PvP, but like for Guild War, like a speed imprint. Baal and Sezan is for Expo. Not gonna show that. Holiday Yuffie getting a buff this round as well. I am considering her on a lifesteal. I know it's crazy. I used her in pocket pick scenarios, not in this season of a World Arena, but in regular arena when I had to counter Basar. I do think that with her buff though, I probably look into more serious gear when I get it, so that would be that. Cerise, I've never used her once in World Arena. I feel that she's a risk, but I know that it's a Cerise and Crow meta, especially at the tail end here. I haven't really had to use her. So she used to be a 300 speed. I nerfed her a bit so I could spread the speed gear out everywhere else, but I'll just quickly show the gear. Yeah, so I nerfed the helmet. Like I have way quicker helmets, but it's just like it's needed on other heroes right now. So that's her. She'll work. Baiken is Banshee one shot. LQC used once in World Arena this season, but mainly used in like Guild War. So I prefer the kind of bulky type. One away from Triple S, which I got really lucky on the LQC return banner when I was pulling for Blue Crow. All I got was LQC. I'm not gonna complain about that because the defense is very, very nice. Show the stats really quick. I had a showcase video on her running like a 5k attack with only 169 crit damage, I think. Around the same crit rate with the Hell Cutter. And then I eventually got this, and I'm like, okay, this is pretty good. So let me just run this on her. So she's kind of now got a high attack benefit with decent bulk and some crit damage now to nuke out like an ML Ken or something without damage mitigation. So it's okay. I haven't really had to look into building her more, but it's just mainly because I don't really use her in World Arena because I pre-ban FCC. So although of course, like, you know, if they double up, triple up on like dark heroes, like she's really good there because she becomes a force ban. This is a Banshee. I did end up pulling another Vildred in terms of using the connection. So I was on the hype train to building the degen RB for World Arena. I actually did draft him this way. He's not even full Mola though. I did draft him with like I think Troublemaker Crozet or something like that. And he worked, and he doesn't even have max gear yet. So this is you know what, at the end of the day I gave up on this because I started realizing all the types of heroes that would counter him, this build would not work. So he's kind of like on gear. I think I could probably move to other heroes, but for now I'll keep this on him. I don't know though, I don't really use him anywhere. I currently have him on like a arena defense. So anyways, he's kind of like a work in progress. As you can see, the 90 gear not maxed. Ravi, just when Carrot was buffed and it became the Carrot World Arena meta, I had finally built my Ravi to a counter set, which I am decently pleased with. But then I never used it once. With the Carrot meta, I felt that, and actually not even just the Carrot meta, but Carrot being one of the reasons I believe Ravi went out, but mainly Crow and Cerise. But anyways, let me just showcase the gear here. Some of the stuff I rolled on stream. So a lot of stuff I can min-max as well. Like I think it's 14% health there maxed, and then 9% defense there maxed. Definitely worth it. This one rolled really high. I rolled this on stream one day after what do you call it? A Hell Raid run. And that's why I keep saying, like, just roll those chests, guys. Like, unless you're chasing speed on the speed sword, get the chest. It's very, very good for bruisers. And this one is like a bit of a diminishing return. I think if I can min-max, eventually min-max some of the HP rolls, I'll probably, like, this one get a 9% HP, so 2% more. And on Capricorn Warrior, she has very high base. So, like, each percent is very, very good. I think I would probably re-roll that health out either for speed or for attack. I also try not to reroll the stats for the hero that has the gear. I also forward think in terms of like what kind of hero would benefit from the following substats, and like, you know, what kind of substat would be best for that type of hero. So in this case, because it's a crit damage and I already have the crit rate, both attack or speed I think could work here. Just depends, I guess. I'll have to think about that. The defense on Capricorn Warrior is not super low, so the flat defense is not super good return like compared to like Remnant Violet or any thief, but it's not bad. So 118 flat with 26 and 13 crit damage and 9 health. So eventually this ended up being pretty beefy. I think eventually if I get a triple S, it should be looking at comfortably a 1600 defense. And with the roll of the health and a max Sigrid Scythe, hopefully I could hit 18,000 health. But otherwise I think it's very solid. I think it's just a very solid Ravi. I think it's fine. Carrot, this is the same build I showcased in my showcase video, and I think in that showcase video for my Carrot video, I actually theory crafted one of the builds I wanted to do. I ended up not committing it to this RTA season. It's like something like this. Hold on. Attack, I think it's this one? No, not that one. This one? Yeah, this one if I re-rolled it. I was gonna commit to something around like that. So the speed would be a bit lower here. I could roll 2 more speed, so I'd be at 219, so a bit lower than the left side build. But the defense would be so much higher, but the attack would also be low. So if I didn't have, let's say, an attack buffer, it wouldn't do as much damage. I just didn't end up committing to it because it would have taken more reforge mats, and it felt like it wasn't like it could be an upgrade depending on how I use her, but the way I use her is very, very aggro. So the way that she is looking right now, this current build ended up being really good. She ended up being just, I basically, you know, I kind of cheesed a World Arena this season. For people who didn't pre-ban Carrot and first pick Crow, I first picked Carrot, and every single one of those fights I beat, and I left the Crow. The reason is because like Carrot, they knew that they would have to S3 her, use all the skills on Carrot, kill her off ASAP, and I had other heroes that were doing damage, so it ended up being very consistent. I think at the beginning you saw that there was a 19 consecutive win, and although I'm low in champ, so technically my opponent's not going to be like super crazy, like my gear might be a bit higher, the Carrot first pick, I could show some of the fights, but I don't want to like diss any of the players that I fought against. But if I showed you the picks, like they first pick Crow, I first pick Carrot, and I leave the Crow, and Carrot just worked. So in that sense, I already said this in my Carrot showcase video, that she's just very overpowered. So it's actually better just to ban her or pre-ban her, and then just play as if it was like the previous season. She's just very annoying to deal with. And just because I got so many wins with Carrot, I'm just like, yeah, she's very OP. There's almost a 200 speed CDOM on some scrap gear, as you can see, like this piece here, but some gear of course to compensate with the scrap, because like I said, I do use her especially in like Guild War offense. Very, very solid. With the 200 speed, it would cut like a Maid Chloe on Water's Origin. Most Maid Chloes, I would say, most Maid Chloes on Water's Origin. And again, depending on the type of heroes. But she works. I recently recalled her with the, I think it was the text description that got changed. I got the ML Kawana, and I got another CDOM, so she's at a plus 13 right now, and a level 10 friendship. I leveled her up really quick. Lilibet not used. Tywin did not change from last season. I actually forgot. Did I show him last season? I'm not sure. He did not change. I use him pocket pick, not like Golden Boy draft. I actually use General Purrgis Last Rider Crawl more than I use Ambitious Tywin. But for me, Ambitious Tywin is like a very good like situational pick. I know some people probably still main him, but he works the way I need him to, like with this type of build. I know a lot of people went back to the hybrid with effectiveness build, so like, you know, effectiveness with some crit damage. And I think that works better. I just don't have the gear for it, so I'm not gonna chase it. I'm not gonna bother. But for people who like, you know, have like a, you know, Basar pick, you know, you could choose like Ambitious Tywin and a Maid Chloe, and unless they can like cleave you fully, like a flan cleave, it's not a big threat because they can't land an unbuffable, especially if you got a double pick on the Maid Chloe or Ambitious Tywin. So that's how I use him pretty much. Let's see, Champion Zerato recently rebuilt him only for Guild War. Okay, I don't use him for, actually, you know, with this showcase is not that not that honest. Like, only 2 days ago, my Champion Zerato had 2 pieces of gear on. I actually don't use them at all. I really don't use them. It was only mainly because I got these pieces, which is really scuffed, actually, because it's flat HP, and I got this really weird one from my recent hunt buff. If you're watching this video in chronology, we got a recent hunt buff, and you know, I had these drops from Banshee, and it ended up rolling well. It's just like, it's kind of like skeptical main stats. Ended up rolling well. I'm just like, okay, whatever, like, you know, have some spare lifesteal set gear. I'm like, who do I put this on? I'm just like, okay, let's just put it on a Champion Zerato, use it in like a easy guild war or something, and then ended up being like a interesting guild war defense that Champion Zerato would just be really good in, even at base speed pretty much. So I just put this together. So this is not really built. I don't use him in RTA. I think he's very risky in World Arena. If you bring him against debuffers, every single Champion Zerato user versus me had lost, and I kept the Champion Zerato in. I just don't think he's a very big threat anymore. I think like someone like Lilibet, designer Lilibet deals better, I think, with this meta of how people use debuffers. I don't know about Champion Zerato, to be honest. Gunther, not built anymore. Alencia, I've downgraded her like the past 2 seasons. Every subsequent season I've downgraded her. She's like no longer looking like the way I had her, so I don't even know what to comment on. I'll just show the gear, I suppose. I used her once in World Arena, but at the very beginning, and it's because I misdraft. But it ended up working because she got full strip and defense buff. In terms of a kit wise, I think Alencia still works. Like in terms of like, she still brings like good stuff. It's just that, you know, we got Carrot, we got like Fire Ravi, and that's, I think, why she fell off a bit. But I think in a pocket pick she can still work, so that's why I still have gear on her, but not like my best gear. Lifesteal SSB, same kind of concept. I think Lifesteal SSB has been way more popular in terms of like people built her like this way earlier than they did for Landy or Specter Tenebria. And I think the concept is simple as well. It's the same thing as like Landy, except like she doesn't like siphon back as much health as Landy would, because Landy would have technically more AoE, higher mods, and she would get defense pen. Although SSB brings a death break, most heroes that you're fighting against all have immunity or have some kind of immunity buffer, so you know, good luck trying to land a death break. But the lifesteal, of course, is really helpful. Every S2 that she lets out, assuming you do crit, and they have like, you know, only like, let's say 1500 defense on average, you get back about like 2500 health, which is still really good. Again, depending on how much health you have on your SSB, 2500 is quite a bit, right? So like that would be like on her first S2, she would have 17,000 HP on your SSB. So eventually it ends up just being like good value. So again, you could run the double crit set with immunity for higher stats, because you got 24 crit rate like free, instead of finding that crit rate into your lifesteal set. So you, of course, a lifesteal SSB is going to look lower, especially if you have immunity on. It's going to look a bit lower. Not all the gear here is like super high rolled anyway though. It's just like very balanced rolls. You see how I still have a purple gear here. The 22 crit rate on this neck is really what saves it. The flat defense is not bad on her as well, as she only has like about like 500 something defense main. I can roll the 14 health there if I'm min-max, but it's a purple gear at this point. I'm just like, don't know if it's worth. This used to be on my Celine. This ended up being very good for her. There's no speed on it, and it's like really good defense for her. So I think that's like 25% defense, I think, with the flat there, plus another 16. The crit rate is good, and the crit damage rolled actually pretty decent. And then the a health boot. Again, you don't know, man. Like, if you get an epic gear and it seemingly looks like it's unusable, you could definitely just try to roll it, see if it high rolls. There's another 3 crit damage out of this boot. So 3 crit damage will put me up to 259 crit damage, which I think will be okay. Of course, every bit counts, especially when you're dealing with a lifesteal hero. So in terms of the overall stats, I think it's okay. The imprints really don't help her here, unless I want to chase effectiveness, but I'm usually running the HP release for like my bruisers or the frontliner, something like that. Elphelt is actually built on spare gear, but she works the way I want her to. This one I'm not rolling because it's actually pretty bad on her. But I get about 16 speed, I think, on Reforge. And the only reason I haven't committed to that is because the heroes I run her with, like Angelica, Basar, like usually Guild War offense or Arena offense, I need her to be speed tuned at 248 basically on Oath Key. Otherwise it's on decent gear, not good gear, not good gear, just decent, like passable gear. It just works. This one's okay though, the 37 crit damage on the boot. She probably doesn't need that much, to be honest, and if you are gonna mold her, you definitely need the 15% effect chance on the +4. The damage on the S2 is actually insane because she does more damage if they have more debuffs. So I ended up using her so much that I actually just put the Mola in and level 10 friendship, and I think she's worth it. I seen her used on me via World Arena as a pocket pick to kill my OQC. That was a big brain. So it's basically like what the guy did was just like did this on my OQC, put her to sleep, and she's left with a death break, and she just kept my OQC asleep and then just nuked her out. So, you know, I've seen other people use Elphelt pocket pick, either cleaver or just literally pocket pick on Guiding Light. Very solid hero. The buff was really good. Marissa, I never had to use her this season, but I did use her last season. She's still quote unquote built and on defensive flat. Quickly show this. I never had to use her this season. I didn't really do speed contesting. Last season I used her as like an imprint and damage dealer for speed contesting. This season I really bunkered down with like bruisers and stuff like that. General Purrgis. So this is 3 purple gear. So missing a lot of stats. As you can see, the health is actually really low. I'm not on the dual attack imprint because I actually prefer him having higher attack or higher HP. Arguably speaking, that's kind of a waste. If I can get upgrades on him, I will most likely run him on the dual attack imprint. This one could get more crit damage, and I like Draco Plate on him because I actually use him as a pseudo cleaver. Like he'll be able to set up, like usually pair him up with multiple AoE, either Landy, Carrot, Last Rider Crow, and himself. Doing this kind of damage to them, it's usually enough to just wipe out that Crow. Let's say they have a Crow as the Aureus holder. It's usually enough to kill the Crow before the Crow can even horse. Of course, it's situational depending on the fight, but hopefully you guys can imagine that. A bit more crit damage out of there. This one you can roll health %. This one actually is really hard to replace, even if I'm thinking about this in a red piece. So I actually might roll the 9% health there. I'll try to. But again, it's purple gear, so usually I won't be looking to upgrade purple gear. And he works right now. He actually just works. With Draco Plate, the defense I have there, it's enough to survive a couple hits. And the idea is like most people won't be hitting General Purrgis on purpose anyway. So it's like, you know, I just have him a high damage, enough sustainability to survive some cleaves, and it's all good to go there. Lilius, I had her built as a cleaver for offensive arena. Never used an RTA, and I made a video, multiple videos on that, so you guys can check that out. I'm just gonna move on. Mui not really used. Guild War defense. Charles, unbuilt. Melissa, not built anymore. Baal and Sezan, I used him once in World Arena, and I definitely think he's a bit weaker now, but again, it's situational. It is situational. I have him on the high resist build, a 220 speed, 1300 defense, and then I have 21,000 HP. Quickly show the stats. I can definitely think about changing this piece of gear for some speed roll, maybe on the effectiveness. Not exactly for him, but for future heroes. This one, I had him on my A-Ros. I actually nerfed him because he's not as widely used in this season. But it's all good. I'll show you guys the A-Ros. He's actually coming up next. This one was a health, but with 30 effect resist. It's decent. And again, I really haven't used him much in World Arena this season. This is my A-Ros, so he got nerfed 5 speed lower. I did this because I could actually get a health % on this one. I nerfed him a bit because I needed the gear on other heroes, but he still ended up working. I actually, on my last fight, my last World Arena fight, it was because I chose him and I actually won, but a pocket pick though. Like he was the 4th pick on my fight. 21 speed on this health piece, it ended up being pretty good. This used to be on my F Kluri, but I'll show you guys my new F Kluri. And this, and these are actually pretty much similar pieces of gear. So he works when I need him. He works in Guild War offense when I need him. Like decently fast, good HP to hold the Aureus, and with a defense buff, that 1400 defense won't look that low. Cermia I'm gonna skip because she's not built. Doris, Stella Harpa, ignore that. That was like for like I was just going into RTA, wanted to build in case my Soul Weavers were needed. Just give her some artifacts, but I didn't have enough, so I just put it on Stella. Otherwise, Remnant Violets, generally now I kill with Solitaria and Elphelt, so I don't even tank it with Doris anymore. So I haven't really used her much at the tail end of the Guild War season, but I never used it in World Arena. I don't like drafting Soul Weavers unless the Soul Weaver has an attack buff. Like I said, I play very aggro. So Maid Chloe and Diene are the two Soul Weavers I use. Maybe Rowana if they pick SSB, but not because I want to heal. Not exactly, it's just because it's the best pick. But otherwise, yeah, those are the stats. I'll quickly show it actually. Keep rambling. Decent stats in terms of like, if you see the defense health, effect resistance ratios, defense health effect, it's actually like decent here. This one would need a defense reroll, but again, not very important because I don't need her to have the best gear. She'll work, like with the stats I have right now, she'll work. So it's not like, you know, I'm really I need to chase it, like the effectiveness there, like it would require another defense percent gems, HP percent gems, basically greater gems, man. Smilegate, please give more. We're about to get some content, I think the Advent side story, that will give us more of those, and hopefully they have the Alchemist Steeple, is it called Alchemist Steeple? Where you could eventually reroll unused gems for max gems of your selection. That would be great, that would be great. Because there's still an RNG rule in terms of rolling the actual gem stat. Dark Corvus not used anymore. Archdemon's Shadow, this isn't really built. No, she's kind of like work in progress, gear holder. I'm kind of like trying to make her work, but I'm lacking a bit of gear to really make her work. So just currently just showing like some of the gear that have potential, but it may not be for her. So I do still think that she's very good. In fact, there was one fight I had in World Arena. I meant to choose Specter Tenebria, but I ran out of time. It ended up being Archdemon's Shadow, and she became a force ban because the player that I was versing against had like I think like General Purrgis, T Surin, Arby or whatever. Anyways, Archdemon's Shadow, if her seal pops off, it's pretty scary. So not a lot of players think that she's underwhelming. Every player has experience getting a loss to Archdemon's Shadow or getting a win if they've used her. So she's not bad, but I just never used her because she's a bit RNG to me. So Momo, I don't use her ever anymore, so let's not even look at that. Lilibet, oh yeah, I forgot I changed this. So Lilibet is actually quite an easy hero to build, but not an easy hero to build well. In terms of the stats needed on her, like you can see, I'm not really putting all my best gear on her. And this one's not even 90, I forgot about that. But she just works. I used her as a pocket pick versus Ambitious Tywin and another debuffer, Double Up. And I forgot how the fight went. It was a long time ago now, but she ended up being the win condition just because she was able to hold the Ambitious Tywin. Like he couldn't continue to soul burn because she would like cleanse, or I would hold it and then he wouldn't want to do it. Maybe it's a player thing, but the design a little bit did win me that fight. And the Solitaria, I think she's very solid. I love Violin for sure. At this point, I think she's pocket pick level, but if you can comfortably get her to better stats than this, like more bulk, more survival. Speed, I don't know if you want to run her as a speed contest. Higher effectiveness, higher bulk. And she would be, I would run her much more comfortably. But anyways, these are like kind of like you know, like gear I needed, like that had some speed. These I would call like secondary speed gear. But she works when I need her to. Basar kind of nerfed as well, but the speed is at 263, which isn't super fast. But you'll see on the right side gear what kind of gear I'm spotting him here. Again, just yeah, very desperate for immunity speed. So I ended up getting a lot of like rolling a lot of immunity boots. Immunity speed boots seem to be a very, very good value, especially if you're going for immunity heroes who require high speed, or immunity heroes that need a lot of like bruisers or whatever. So like it's just a very good neutral boot to be converting. I would definitely highly recommend that. Probably even over speed set boot. Immunity seems to be the best in terms of the most neutral place. Broman, not really used. F10 I do use. I upgraded her effectiveness, the lower a bit of speed from last season, of course on immunity, and she works. It's just the effectiveness is still not high enough. Eventually, of course, I think if I get a triple S, I think she would be at the effectiveness I'm looking for. And the speed, the bulk is a bit low though, I have to say. The bulk is definitely low, but the speed and immunity, and if I get triple S, the effectiveness would definitely be where I would want her to be, so about 200. Asira Ren, honestly still one of my favorites on her. I ended up having a fight in World Arena about a week ago. Someone drafted Kitty Clarissa, and the fight was honestly if the Kitty Clarissa could resist. It ended up not resisting. It resisted the redirect provoked, resisted the unbuffable, but Zero Rem procced a silence on it. So maximum RNG. Politis I nerfed. As you can see, she is on 585 gear. But pocket pick this season for World Arena. She is usually a force ban, if that. Celine is one of them, but she works like this. I will eventually upgrade her. I still think Politis is one of the strongest heroes, and I mean you can see Politis everywhere. She's drafted in RTA a lot as a counter pick. She's in a lot of arena defenses. Sometimes I see her in Guild War defenses. So Politis ended up still being like one of the meta heroes that I did predict. Because of what she deals with, and but I will eventually. I don't even know why I molded the S2. I don't remember why. I think I got hyped when she came out. C Armin also very gross. So there, if you're in higher World Arena, you probably see this tech ran by some of the fleet guys. That C Armin speed tune slower than Landy, and then getting the invincibility after Landy gets a turn. That's pretty gross. So I ended up trying it out, and it worked. It really did work. So like basically, I think like the idea is like what I'm seeing is like especially at the tail end here, like people like want to get the crows, right? They want to draft the crow so they get that damage mitigation with it. So basically, like Crow is so good because he's got damage mitigation, he's got a defense buff, and then he's got damage, right? So like that's pretty toxic. Like no matter what, true damage and quite a high amount of true damage, one-shottable true damage. And so Crow ended up being like one of those most contested knights, and FCC of course, but I pre-ban FCC. So my thought process is that I took advantage of this, you know, with the fleet tech. With people seeing that C Armin is really good. C Armin is very good, especially with the buff, with the 100% provoke rate. If you do get it to +5, she's actually very good. Just and the new buff on the S2 and with Aureus, she's just like brings a lot of damage mitigations. You got immunity, you got invincibility, and that 100% provoke comes in clutch. But usually people don't draft her. So she becomes an available knight for damage mitigation. So I ended up in this season, I ended up drafting more damage up front. So like my first 3 slots, all damage pretty much, AoE if possible. And then on the last 2 slots, I ended up drafting knights. And there's a lot of knights to go around. You got your Crow, of course, but he's probably picked. A-Ra's not super meta, so he's probably available. A-Ra's, C Armin, Troublemaker Crozet. If you got all those heroes, you have a lot of knights to work with. So you don't need to in my opinion, you don't really need to steal all the knights. And it's not like they can steal it either, because if they go all knights, then you go Ilanav, some healer, and Dark Corvus, and they're kind of screwed. So just something to think about in terms of that kind of strategy. But I definitely like it. So eventually, probably I'll look into gearing CRM more. But I definitely think that the next season of World Arena, or when preseason starts again, CRM is going to see much more play, because that tech is being spread and a lot of people are seeing it now. So, and then Maid Chloe, of course, very, very meta defining this season, like a must. Like if two players are fighting each other, Maid Chloe is going to be drafted there somewhere, unless she's pre-banned. It's kind of like Carrot, it's kind of like Landy, it's kind of like Crow. Like this is, I think, the complaint this season for most players feeling burnt out. It's like it's the same picks over and over. It's just who gets it first, who has the better build, and who has the better counter drafts, I suppose, to deal with such heroes. I get it. It can definitely feel kind of dry, but it is what it is. There's always going to be a season where a hero is going to be meta. You can't escape that. That's just how the game works. So anyways, this is a counter Maid, and she's not that good on counter. I definitely want to put her back onto speed. I definitely didn't feel that she countered. Either the counter didn't proc, or I'm dealing with Landy or people who can't proc counters. So it ended up being like the counter is a bit of a waste, although if you have the gear for counter and your speed set looks about the same, I'd say just, yeah, put it on a counter just in case. It had come in clutch, I suppose, in terms of like, I was able to put some people to, like, stunned and, you know, on a counter. So like, you know, it could still work. It's just like, I don't feel that as where it should be. I definitely think that if you get the same amount of bulk or even more bulk, 230, 240 speed with more effect resist or about the same, is probably the way to go. And I have her on Water's Origin, not Celestine, which is kind of counterintuitive for the counter set Maid, but the Water's Origin helps me deal with cleave more, so I can get the cut. Yeah, these are the stats. Decent stats, I would say, in terms of the counter set. Even though it's a resist set, so, you know, immunity ideal if possible. Tywin is PvE. So this is my new Falconer Kluri. So I think last season I ended up with a 286 Falconer Kluri, and this is why my A-Rod's got like sort of like a better neck. It's because I got this, a 21 speed health ring, which has like really weird stats in it. So in terms of like a Falconer Kluri, A-Rods, like, unless you can get the effectiveness, of course, which is very, very beneficial, it's sometimes you just want the speed and bulk. Maybe I know players go with like a higher effectiveness, but I've seen like 150 effectiveness F Kluri still not be able to, you know, provoke unless they soul burn. So in my style, I definitely prefer higher bulk, higher speed, so she can turn cycle more, get some heals off, and then soul burn the S3. I don't usually like to soul burn S3 unless I'm speed contesting like a cleave. Doing the S3 without a soul burn. I don't usually like to do that. So anyways, so it's really just the speed gear is very, very nice on her, but I actually haven't used her a lot this season. Like I said, I have relied less on RNG this season than I did in the previous seasons. Diene 220, she works. I used her pocket pick, like a last pick, and she helped me win some fights, but definitely not one of the heroes that I go to. I prefer Maid over Diene this season, but each have their pros and cons. I'll quickly show the gear. This ended up being still pretty long. It's actually an hour already. I'm looking at the time recorded. Oxlots use in Arena, using Guild War. I do swap him to faster speed if I need to speed contest. I think 292 speed is my fastest right now with my gear. Troublemaker Crozet on some really weird gear. Look at this. Look at this. But he worked. He worked when I needed him to. The boot is carrying most of this build. He worked when I needed him to. And again, World Arena scenario. Yeah. MLKen did a showcase video on him not long ago. With the new buff, I am definitely looking into effect resistance, but so far on lifesteal immunity. Used him in World Arena cleave, counter cleave. He had to be the ban. They knew that. They banned him. With the new buffs, I'm kind of excited to see what I could come up with. But otherwise in Guild War, mainly Guild War offense, he's very, very good versus that. FCC, like I said, I pre-ban her. So outside of maybe arena defense, I don't use her. I don't trust FCC in Guild War defense either. I feel it lacks a slot for aggro, so I don't use her at all. So she's on 3 purple gear, very spirit gear. She's at 0 imprint, 30k HP, very, very nice. Everything else though is kind of just like whatever. Some wasted stats here and there, but she works when I need her. Guild War offense I use as well. Arena offense as well sometimes. Tamarine, I built her for expos mainly, but she's coming in handy for like just doing like raids and stuff. I think the last time I showed my Tamarine, she was still on like 67 gear with immunity. Very, very old school stuff, but she has like gear that I suppose I could 90 if I cared that much, but I don't care that much, so I probably won't. But mainly, like I said, expo, hell raid, getting that combination of effect resistance and effectiveness on her. Very, very nice. I do miss her original look. I've had her on the Pauper skin for a long time, the one that where she looks like she's homeless, but this look, she's actually way cuter like this, but that's just an FYI. Jagging things. So Last Rider Crow, one of my favorite heroes this season and last season, ended up just, you know, loving him so much I gave him more and better gear. He is at a triple S. I did triple S him this Crow return banner, and this is what he looks like without the triple S, so 27,000. So quite a big difference in terms of like just getting the HP. Of course, you know, everyone knows like getting these stats is just a flex, but honestly, you know, with more barrier, more damage, even though very, very little difference in terms of like a 1,000 HP difference, it's still helpful, right? Every bit helps. Yeah, these are the stats for this, and I'm very pleased with this Last Rider Crow. 1 more % of defense I can roll there if I'm gonna min-max that, but again, those gems are very, very costly. I don't think I can reroll that flat health. It's probably near max, but one self-critique I would definitely have to say is that a lot of the stats here are like kind of wasted. So like let's say for this ring, for example, if it rolled a higher % defense, not into flat defense, it would have merited more value, because Pisces, Knights, Crow, Blue Crow, and the Last Rider Crow have high base defense, and really what they want is some more effect resist, and I would love to have more effect resist on Last Rider Crow, and I think the aim is like 100% effect resist would be very, very nice. I think it is possible, it's just not with these gear, and just not with like, you know, it needs to always be high roll, of course, but it would probably be like in this scenario, like I said again, like the flat defense would be effect resist, and I rolled like I rolled high on all of them. Like eventually I think I will be able to get it, and this one as well, like having % health is a bit better than flat health, unless it's a right side gear. Then right side gear you kind of want a bit of flat health in there. So like this one again, like if it was higher % defense and not flat defense, but it was like a, you know, 16 effect resist or something, much more usable in terms of like, you're talking about usable stats. The effect resistance is gonna come at a much higher value. This as well, the sword, the crit rate there is a waste, and you know, if it was resistance, health and speed and flat health, that would be perfect, and I don't have to re-roll it. This one as well, the attack is a bit of a waste there, 15% attack, and then the again, if it's flat health, % health, defense, and effect resist, it would be the perfect Last Rider Crow. But maybe I'm gonna still look for gear to be able to do that. I want to maintain the 28,000 HP, so I'm willing to lose the 250 health if I can gain more effect resistance somewhere, and ideally 240 speed would be just nice, because the 239 is just kind of bothering me in terms of OCD. But in terms of survival, he's really, really good. Like I said, he's one of my highest picks this season, because he's got adamant shield, the defense is not bad, and with that much HP it's pretty hard to kill, so it's very, very nice. Ilanav ungeared, unfortunately, but I had placed her with some gear, just to kind of show it. The helmet that she's missing here actually went to my Landy, so it was an immunity one with the kind of bruiser stats. But I never used her, and although I wanted to, she's almost level 10 friendship. I'm still leveling her friendship. But we'll have to wait for Smelgate to change the how injury works. F Maya, not used this season, not anymore. I don't even know why she's built like this anymore. Maybe to tank something for Guild War. Never used her in PvP. A serious PvE. And then Blue Crow. No imprints. And yeah, these are stats. You know what? This one would be pretty good on the Last Rider Crow. Although I lose a lot of speed though. I don't know. I'll have to play around with it. Yeah, so Blue Crow, I mean, he works the way he does here. I wanted to go for like 28,000 HP, but that will take time. That will be probably when I get some more imprints or something like that. But otherwise, he works when I need him to. I don't use him a lot though in World Arena. I'm not a crowd drafter. Ruele, also like just like, you know, never used her in World Arena. She is at a double S, mainly from Diene imprints. And she's not even molded. Like, yeah, I don't use her a lot. Guild War offense, very, very, very rarely. But yeah, I got more defense. You could get more defense here. 4 more. This one's perfect on her. This one's also perfect on her. This one's decent on her as well. And then the boot. Yeah, so she's pretty min-maxed, I think, in terms of like maybe just more defense here. But otherwise, she's fine. Eaton not used. Ruzid PvE. Arcates for Guild War. Just quickly show there. Purrgis is my Wyvern G Purrgis. I kept him out of 5-star Awakening, so I will be able to spot it really easily if I'm drafting G Purrgis in World Arena. Apocalypse Ravi is now gone, like in terms of like no one really uses her. Rowana, built for Expo mainly, but pocket pick level when they dropped SSP. And let's see here, Angelica 255. It's just to get the speed. Honestly, that's why I broke her set here. Got this like these awkward 20 speed swords just like randomly placed. But I mainly needed it for the speed. Aggro for Guild War offense mainly. I think that's pretty much it. Oh, did we get through it? That's great. Inquisitor, very, very fun hero. If you guys come to my streams and you guys see me doing like what I call pleb wars, but it's just like guild wars, I showcase like Inquisitor and even the base form, just the Butcher versus Kise, blue Kise, which is pretty high rate on Guild War defense right now. It's hilarious. The tech is hilarious. It feels like I'm cheesing them with like ungeared heroes and a level 5 hero. So let's see here. Anything else built? Dizzy, unbuilt. Not really usable in World Arena this season. I haven't really seen a use. She's too easily countered by too many things now. So it's like she's kind of out. And then I think that's it. Yeah, and regarding CP, those are all the heroes I have built. So for PvP and stuff like that, all the ones on top here. So anyways, hopefully, I mean, this is over an hour, but hopefully that was useful. At least you get to see the progression I have you know, gone to. In terms of the future, outside of chasing speed gear from Wyvern, I think I am going to move to Banshee main. And when the KD sets get decent enough in terms of the 4-piece sets, I'll probably farm KDs. I have to say that the most, like, some of the most beneficial sets right now, again, like I said at the beginning, bruiser sets, consider counter and lifesteal if possible, and only like pure speed DPS or even some soul weavers needing the speed turning, go on to speed set. We've seen Brother Stone, or the world champion, for the Epic 7 world champion, the winner, like showcase his blue crow. It was on a revenge set, and the very fact that it was on a revenge set and it worked really does show that speed set, especially on like a slower, bulkier bruiser type hero, may not be the best way to go. So that's what I'm gonna spend a lot of my energy now, is mainly Banshee. I want to do some catch up on the lifesteal counter sets. One hero I really want to build, and it's proving to be a really high threat, is Fire Charlotte on Lifesteal set. You know, I'm not the one that came out with this. If you have not heard of it, you definitely need to just, you know, hang around Discords or, you know, communities around more. But Lifesteal Fire Charlotte, especially since the EE, has become a huge threat. Holy Sacrifice, or, you know, people run like Justice for All and stuff like that. Very good. So it's like one of the heroes that I'm actually looking forward to building on Lifesteal. So yeah, Banshee mines are gonna be my kind of like next couple months, I think, if I can spare it. Anyways, I'm gonna end this for the video recording. If you guys have Discord, check out the Discord server. Follow me on Twitter. Subscribe to YouTube if you haven't. As always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.